some, we have a function update click, and we are defining on click, update click. Now generally by saying this, what usually everyone understands is, so we have a button called update. Now on update click, what is happening? It is calling a function called update click. That means when I click update button, it is calling a function called update click. Am I right? No, that is wrong. So on button click, it is not calling update click. It is not calling update click. It is pointing towards update click. It is going towards update click. Event is not calling a function. It is pointing towards the function. For example, I will tell you here, see, suppose I am removing this function called update click. So there is no function called update click, and you are calling that function, then obviously it should show error saying that update not found, update click not found. So observe here now, in this page, I will go to the console, inspect, I will go to the console, and you refresh, there is no error. If there is no function by that name and you are calling that function, then it should show error, but it is not showing. But when I click on this update, now it will try to point towards the function and it is unable to find, then it will show error. So event is not calling the function, event is pointing towards the function. So that means you are not calling a function, we are pointing towards a function. We are pointing towards a function. So a function, update click, this is a function. And actually this is called subscriber. This is called subscriber. And this is called sender. That is called sender. What happens is, sender sends a notification to the subscriber. It sends a notification to the subscriber saying that some click happened, you need to execute. That means, what is the role of subscriber? The role of subscriber is to perform some functionality. Subscriber defines the actions to perform, and when these actions are performed, when a notification is sent by sender, sender sends a notification to the subscriber, and subscriber will perform the functionality. So you are not calling functions, you are pointing towards function. This function pointer mechanism is called delegate. Delegate in software programming is function pointer mechanism. So events are not calling functions, events are pointing towards function. In software design patterns, we call this pattern as observer. Actually, in software technologies, design patterns is a big concept. I am not explaining that now. In software technologies, I hope you people know, doing some design patterns. We have 23 design patterns in real world. Every software is built with all these 23 design patterns. We call them gang of 4 design patterns. There are 3 categories: creational patterns, structural patterns, patterns, behavioral patterns. Creational patterns related to object creation mechanism, structural patterns related to designing of classes, and behavioral patterns related to communication, how an object communicates with the class. Actually, observer comes under communication pattern. Observer is a communication pattern. Software design patterns is a big topic. We will not go into that now. Several patterns you already might heard when you are learning some programming languages like singleton. Singleton is one design pattern. Abstract factory is one design pattern. Observer, iterator, these are all design patterns. What is iterator pattern? What is iterator? Iterator is a pattern name. What is iterator pattern? It is the process of sequentially accessing elements from a collection. Iterator is not looping. Looping is different. Iterator is different. Iterator is the process of accessing elements from a collection in sequential order, one after another. That is called as what? Iterator. It comes under a design pattern. So technically, this event comes under a software design pattern called observe. Actually, there are so many design patterns. I will not go into that, but just one overview I will give you. So there are different design patterns. So we will not go depth about that. Option here is, yeah. Actually, we have 23 design patterns. These are all 23 design patterns: creational, structural, behavioral. And these are creational patterns. So these are creational patterns: abstract factory, builder, factory method, prototype, singleton. These comes under creational patterns. We have structural patterns. These are structural patterns: adapter, bridge, composite, decorator, facet, flyweight, proxy. We have behavioral patterns. Behavioral patterns, these are behavioral patterns: chain of responsibility, command, interpreter, iterator, mediator, memento, observer. As I told you, iterator means sequentially accessing elements from a collection. And observer, way of notifying change. That means when you click the button, it notifies to the subscriber. And what subscriber will do? It will perform the function. Software development is all about using these patterns and building the application. Right? It's a big topic. We are not going more into that concept. So you need to just understand the delegate mechanism. That means how the delegate mechanism works. Right? So here we have two options. I will show you. So function. So insert. Suppose this is function. And this is called, we call this as subscriber. And we have some button on click. So insert click. Insert. So this is sender. Sender. Subscriber defines the actions to perform. Subscriber defines the actions to perform. It defines the actions to perform. Sender notifies the changes. Sender notifies the changes. So it is a trigger to perform. It is a trigger to perform or execute given actions. It is a trigger to perform or execute given actions. So event is a message, and event follows a software design pattern called observer. It uses a delegate mechanism, function pointer mechanism. Across any technology in the world, event concept is same. Anywhere you may be learning Java, .NET, Python, PHP, anywhere. Event concept is same. Event definition is same. Event related concept and definition are same across any location. This is first basic point. You should know what is an event. So you are not calling the functions, you are pointing towards the functions. Next important you need to know is what is event handler. What is event handler? What is event handler? This is very important. What is the concept of event handler? What is event and what is event handler? Actually, for example, you see here, for this update button, currently I am using one event. Which event I am using? For update button, I am using one event. Which event I am using? Which event I am using? For this button, which event I am using? You can see event now, which event I am using. On click is not event name, click is event name. On click is not event name. Event name is click, focus, blur, key up, key down. On is a handler name. On is a handler name. By using this handler, you are attaching this event to this button. On click, on change, on blur, these are not event names. Event names are click, blur, focus, key up, load. It is not on click. On click, on is a handler. What is the role of this handler? It is used to attach the event to this element. So, and it will be responsible for performing this functionality. So, when button is clicked, it should execute this update click function. So, this is attached to the button by using on. While designing, you want to add some event to any element, then you need a handler. You need one handler, and the handler is on. By using this handler, actually, we have a method called document.on. This method is a handler method which is used for attaching events. We can attach events. We will see another technique also. But what is the event name is click, and what is the handler name on click. That means what is the role of event handler? It is used to attach an event to any element in design. In design, if you want to attach any event to element, then we need an handler. So without handler also we can write event. I will show you. See. So what is handler? So handler is used to configure event for any element. Handler is used to configure event for any element. On click. So in that, this is event handler. On is handler and the click is event. That is the handler and event. Handler can attach any event to element. Handler can attach any event to element in design. So you can configure any event to element in design by using a handler. Now, important is that is on design. When you are designing, you want to add some event for element, then you use a handler. Another important is what is event listener? Event handler and event listeners. We have event handler and event listener. For example, there are different situations. For example, let's see here. We are having a due and the class, on load. So some body load. Okay, we have a function body load. On body load, I want to create a button and add into this div. This div have an ID container. I want to create one button and add into the div. So that means there is no button. Button is dynamically created. So how do you create buttons? You know, var btn document dot what? Create element, which one? Button. And btn dot text content, it should be like some insert. Okay, where to add? Document dot get element by id container. To that append child, we are adding btn. That means now a button is added into your design dynamically. So we haven't designed the button, we added a button. Dynamically a button is added. Now tell me how to write event for this. That means we need to write event for this, right? So we need to write event for this. There is no button. Button is dynamically created. Then how you add event to that? So there is no handler now, because if there is a design, then you can add a handler. There is no handler now. Then how you write event for a button which doesn't exist? Then we have to use, before adding the button, we have to use an add event listener. Event handler to configure event in design. Event listener to configure event dynamically. Dynamically, you want to add some event for an element because it is not there in the design, it is dynamically created. Even if it is there in design, we can add listeners. So for example, here, add event listener. Okay. So what is the event name? Event name is click. You see, click is event name, not on click. And on when click happened, what action it should do? Some functionality. I'm using a shorthand. What it should do is document.write. It should say inserted some message. It should display. Now you can see that this button is having an event. You cannot have an handler because it is not in design. There is no design. Then how you add events to any element which is dynamically added? By using list. Not only that, in real world projects, suppose if there is a button already, some delete button and delete, and ID as some btn delete. Okay. Now we have two buttons. One is delete, another insert. Delete is in design, and this is dynamically created. But in real world projects, majority of situation, we don't write on click. That means even it is in design, we will attach events dynamically. That is recommended. Why it is recommended? Because in real world projects, what we do, we cleanly separate everything. Design separate and logic separate. And in design, we don't want any logic related action. That means you are writing on click, delete click. That means you are attaching some logic into this element. Design, only design. Functionality, only functionality. So, how to write event for this delete button? So, how to write event for this delete button without handler? Then what you have to do? Here we have to access what is the button. Document dot get element by ID. What is it? btn delete dot add event listener. Add event listener. What is the event name? Click. And on click, what action it should do? Document dot write delete it. This message it should display. Even it is in the design, we will not write any handler. We attach event using an listener. So delete will delete and insert will insert. So these are event listeners. We have an event handler and we have an event listener. So what is the role of event listener? So event listener is used to configure events dynamically. Configure event for element dynamically. Event listener is used to configure event for element dynamically. So events are used only, events are attached to element only when required, which improves the performance. Events are attached to element only when required, so which will improve the performance. Syntactically, so document query selected, we are accessing some button and add event listener. Add event listener. event name, and the action, what action it should perform. So dynamically configuring the events. How you can dynamically configure the event. So first point, what is event? Second, what is event handler? And then what is event listener? You should know event, event handler, event listeners. Another important point is what are event arguments? What are event arguments? Next important event argument. This rough example I will give to you. This is just your JavaScript concept, because after knowing these points only you can use in React. Right? To work with React, first you need to be perfect in JavaScript events concept, because almost everything is same. So what are event arguments? What is the concept of event arguments? Actually, event arguments is nothing but event arguments. Arguments are used to carry payload. Arguments are used to carry payload from sender to subscriber. Arguments are used to carry payload from sender to subscriber. What is meant by payload? In software technologies, payload means data carried from one place to another. That is called payload. Payload refers to data carried from one location to another. In general software terminology, we call this payload. So, arguments are used to carry data. So here, this is very important. What are the arguments available actually? So see here, every event has default arguments. Every event has default arguments. One is this, another one is event. Every event has two default arguments. One is this, another one is event. We have two default arguments, this and event. Actually, what are these arguments? You see here, suppose I'm having buttons like so play, another, we have three buttons, pause and stop. Actually, these three buttons should use same data. They have three functionalities, but they share same information. Because you are playing a song, that song must be paused, that song must be stopped, that song should play again. If you write 3 functions, then sharing data between functions is difficult because data of one function is not accessible to another. You need to maintain global data. When you maintain global data, it leads to lot of memory leaks. It's not good. So for 3 buttons, you don't need to write 3 functions. You can write only one function. Player is a function. And on click. So player function will be used by all 3. That means you don't need to write 3 events, 3 functions. You can write only one function for all 3 buttons. If you write only one function for all these buttons, then they will do the same work. All will do the same work. But we can make them work with different. So how this function knows which button you click? That means, for example, this button is having a name, play. This button is having a name, play, pause. And this button is having a name, stop. Not only name, it can have anything. Suppose it is having a class called, so we have a class called btn some play. It is having a class called btn pause. It is having a class called btn stop. Classes are used for different colors, effects, and we can apply them. Button can have ID, button can have name, button can have anything. Now, what we can do is, this button related information we can send to this function. How? By using this as event argument. By using this as event argument. What this refers to is, this refers to current element. This refers current element. It is button related all details. All details means button whatever it is having, ID, name, width, height, class. Button related all properties and methods you can send into this function now. And you know that this is an actual parameter. You need a formal parameter now. We already learned functions, actual, formal parameter. That means we need to collect button related details and we can use here. That means what we are doing now here. So we are simply configuring. We are simply configuring like this. Here we need a formal parameter. This refers to what? Button. That means this refers to which one? Element. Element related all details you can access by using this one, because this is sending data to element. Now what you can access, I will show you. Let's console log. I want to display, I want to use here button name. Then what? So console log element dot name. This is, for example, button name. We are accessing button name. How to access button class name? In the next line, I am using button class. How to access the button class? We can access by using element dot what? Class name. Class name, because property name is class name. Attribute name is class. And you can see that what is going to happen here is when you run this, you can see when I click pause, then it will get button name pause. When I click stop, it will get button name stop. When I click play, it will get button name play. And you know what to do now. You write a simple switch case if condition. If name is play, do some play related action. If name is stop, then do some stop related. So one function can handle all the functionalities, all the elements. How you send element related details to the event subscriber, we call it as, by using which one? This. This refers to current element. Remember, you can send all details by using this, or you can send specific details. You can send specific details also. How you can send specific details is here. You can say this dot name. That means it will send only name. This will send all details. You can send only name. In that case, here, if you are sending only name, only that element name, then here it is just a name. It is just a name. And here I am accessing only the name. Only the name, because now I cannot access class, because it is not sending the class. It is sending only name. And you can see only name will come. Play, pause, stop. We can pass multiple arguments, comma, this dot class name. We can pass multiple arguments like this dot class name, this dot class name, here comma, this dot class name. Then obviously you need another one. What is it? Class name. And we need to access the class name. So class name. How you access the class name? By using class. And it is going to access both details now. It is going to access both details. That means you can send all details. You can send any one detail, multiple arguments. So what is the role of this? So this comprises of information related to current element. This comprises of information related to current element. It provides all properties and methods of element. It provides all properties and methods of element. So we have a button on click. So say click some. Into that we pass this. So button is having name. It is having value. Something like this. So you need a function. On that you have to collect element. And it can access element name. It can access element value, whatever options it is having. Suppose name is not defined and you are trying to access the name, then obviously it will return undefined. Right? If it is defined, it will display. If it is not defined, it will return undefined. So information related to current element you can send by using this. Element related arguments and event related argument. For example, you see we have another option here. See, suppose I am writing https://www.amazon.in. Okay, that is some website address. Just I entered some website address in my code. You see now, when I move the mouse onto it, I need to visit that website. Then when I move the mouse onto it, it says command plus click. If it is Windows, it says control plus click. Now the question is, how click knows I am using command key or not? That means I am clicking. How it knows? Along with click, command key is also used. Because when I normally click, nothing happens. It's not happening. But I press command key and click. Now it will open that here. That means click is not just click. Means events have a lot of attributes. Where you clicked, how you clicked, everything matters. That means, for example, you see Google Map. In Google Map, map is a huge area and you click in one place, then automatically it will put a pin at that place. How it knows you clicked there? That means when you are clicking at any place, it is knowing the position where you clicked. That means x-axis, y-axis, where you are clicking. Then only it can put a pin there. Right? In a map, how you can click any place and in that place it will put a pin. How it knows where you clicked. Right? We can know that. How that is possible? That is possible by using every event has one more argument. One argument is this. Another argument is event. Every element can have an event argument. Remember, this event will not send information about element. It will send information about event. These event related details are sent by using event. You may be thinking like, what may be event related details? So many. Event related details like how they clicked, control key used or not, shift key used or not, alt key used or not. And when they click at x-axis where they clicked, at y-axis where they clicked. That means you see, I will show you here the point, how it works. This time we are not sending element related details. We are sending which details? Event related details. So here I will capture with E. Any reference name you can give, doesn't matter. Now E refers to event. Now what we want to do is, I want to know at which position, X position, where they click. Then we can access E dot client X. It will get X position. I want to know Y position. Then what we have to do is E dot what client Y. I want to know whether they used a control key or not, or shift key or not. So then I will use shift key. Whether they used a shift key, control key, anything you can define. Whether they used a shift key or not. E dot shift key, it will return true false whether they used or not. Now you can see that when I click these buttons, you can see it will get the XY position. It is going to get XY position. Suppose I am using a shift key and clicking on pause, then you can see that shift key true. Previously shift key is false. That means where you are clicking, how you are clicking, everything matters. That's very important. That means so many situations. You see, generally when you are moving mouse on a map or anywhere, when mouse goes on to particular area, it shows tips about it. You click at any place, it will pin it. All these requires event related details. That means remember, you can send both details. You can send this, you can send event. And in any order you can send, but in the same order you have to collect. That means first one refers to event and second one refers to which one? Element. How you get the element related details also? We can get, suppose button name. How we can get the button name? By using element dot name. I want to get the button class name, and we can get by using element dot class name. That means both event related details and element related details. Everything we are accessing. Everything we are accessing. In any order you can pass, but in the same order you need to collect. So you can pass only this, you can pass only event, you can pass this event, this, anything. You can pass specific details, not all details. That means I can pass event.clientX. Means what? It will send only x-axis position. Right? We can send all or we can send any specific details. So we have another important event argument. And what is this event? Event comprises of information related to current event configured for element. Information related to current event configured for element. Event details include client X, client Y, key code, char code, shift key, CTRL key, which so many details are present. Event details include all these things. On click, so click, into that we can pass event. A subscriber can access the event arguments and use them. E.client X, E.client Y, E.shift key, like this. Another important is event can send custom arguments. You can send default arguments. You can send, these are called default arguments. Remember, default arguments names are reserved. This is a keyword, event is a keyword. We can have custom arguments. We can send our own arguments. So we can send custom arguments also. These are default arguments. Every event can have, every event can send custom arguments. It can be only custom args or along with default args. You can send any. Only custom arguments or along with default arguments. You can send custom arguments. So you can have custom arguments also. So default and custom arguments. For example, you can see here into the player. I am using suppose. Okay, these are default arguments. Only custom arguments along with the default custom arguments. Along with default custom arguments means suppose after this I am sending one. After that I am sending some 56. After that I am sending TV. That means you are sending a number. You are sending another number. So that means now we are expecting one ID, another price, another name. That means the first parameter in that, second parameter, third. And obviously it's not necessary that everyone should have. Others, if they don't have, they will return undefined. Suppose this is 2, some price, this is some mobile, and this is some 3, so some price and some watch, something like this. And we want to display those details, and obviously you can access the details. That is ID is coming from where? ID. And name is coming from where? Name. And price is coming from where? Price. And you can use REST parameter also. If there are many arguments, you can use REST parameter. You can see ID, 2, mobile, and all. You can have default arguments, you can have custom argument. Only custom arguments, only default arguments, both, anything. Just you need a correct combination of references. Right? We can send our own arguments and we can send along with this. And if there are multiple arguments and you want to collect all of them, you can even use REST parameter. We can use REST parameter. REST parameter is an array and you can destructure array and you can use. So this is just one example to make you understand. So syntactically, we can have custom arguments also. So button, so on click, so is click. Into that, we are passing one TV and suppose some price. 3 details we are sending. Then how do we access function? Click dot 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 details. This is a REST parameter. How to destructure the REST parameter you already know. What do you do? So where ID, name, price is equal to what? Details. It will destructure. Now ID contains 1, TV contains T is the name, price. You can use along with custom and default. Both of them. You can use custom along with default. So you can have custom arguments, you can have default arguments. So I will copy this just rough example for you. This is a JavaScript example, but this is the same rule we follow everywhere, right? But some changes. Let's see. Another point is, if you are using event listener can have only one argument. Event handlers can have default arguments. One is this, another one event. It can have custom argument, but listener can have only one argument. Event listener means when you are dynamically adding event, it can have only one argument. So here very important point is event listener can use only one argument, which refers to event. Event listener can use only one argument which refers to event. However, event in listener comprises of both element and event details. Both element and event details. Event listeners will have only one argument, and that argument contains both details, element related details and event related details. So listener will not have multiple arguments. Listener will have only one event argument. And event can access both of them. Event can use both of them. So for example, you know already, suppose we have document.query selected. We have a button. And for button, we have to add event listener. And in that event name is what? Click. And it uses a callback function. This callback function can use only one event argument. It can use only one event argument. Here, that is a formal name. You can give any name that refers to event. Then if I can pass only one argument into that, then how you can collect all details? It's simple actually. E dot client X you can get. E dot client Y you can get. E dot shift key you can get. These are all event related details. How about element details? Button ID, button name, button class name, how you can get them? That you can get by using e.target.id. You can access by using what? e.target.what name. You can say e.target.what class name. This is element related details. So event details are directly accessible. Element details are accessible by using a target. Here you will not have two arguments. Only one argument can handle both element related details, event related details. and event related details. Both you can access. So event handler can have multiple arguments, but listener will have only one. What about custom arguments? Already you are in a dynamic logic function. You can pass custom arguments, custom values here. You can use your custom values here. You don't need any arguments for that. Custom can be directly handled inside functions. You know that. So technically, event listener is important. Event listener, here we are having on load, body load. Okay, we have a button. So name is insert. Okay, class is btn insert something and insert and id as btn insert. Okay, now we have a script, we have a function body load, and when body loads, document get element by id. What is it? Btn insert dot add event listener, which event click, and in the function you can have only one event argument. You can have only one you can have only one event argument. Then console log, how we can access all details. Suppose I want to access X position. How we can access X position? E dot plain text directly available. How to access? So element ID name. So button name. How to access button name? E dot target dot name. How to access the class name? Same. So class. So e dot target dot class name. We can access. And this time you can see when I click insert, same thing happening. But this time we don't have two arguments. You have only one. Only one argument. It can access element details and event details. React follows this technique. In React, when you write events, you will not use this anymore. You will use only one event argument. And through that, you can access both element details as well as event details, event related details. So event listener is important. This is an example for event listener. This all comes under the category of what? Event arguments. So event handler, event listener, another one is event arguments. Next important, while working with events, so another important concept is you should know what is event propagation. What is event propagation? How to stop propagation? So event propagation and how to stop propagation. This is very common thing. Event propagations, how we can handle them. Actually, this is also called as event bubbling. People also call this as event bubbling. Propagation is event bubble. So it's very simple actually. Concept is very simple actually. Suppose we are having a nav bar and we are having a search button. This is a nav bar. So I'm just roughly giving style. pixel solid black. Oh, and padding as some 30 pixel like this we are having. Now nav bar on click, I say nav click, and button on click, I say search click. Okay, we have two script functions we have to write in the script. One function is nav click. On nav click, I will put an alert nav bar click. Okay, I have another one search click. On search click, I have another action to perform search click. Search click, these are the actions to define. Now what is the point is, in this now, I am clicking on nav bar and it says nav bar click. Good. And I click on search, it says search is clicked. After that, it says nav bar click. But I clicked only search. This is called propagation. So it will not happen for all events. Some events push the parents. That means a child event can push and simulate the parent also. Suppose button is inside nav bar, and when you touch the button, nav bar knows that you touched it. Because not every event, only few events. Because click is a push event. When you push the button, which is in nav bar obviously knows. That means nav bar also feels it because you pushed somebody on it. That means it knows. It feels it. That is propagation. And we don't want. We don't want. So you entered something and click. And it is doing two works. I don't want. When I click search, it should do only search. So that means what is propagation? What is propagation? It is the process where a child event can simulate the parent. Where a child event can simulate the parent event, which should not happen. I click search, it simulates the parent also. I don't want. Then what we do? For child event, you have to pass an event argument and you have to collect event argument E, and event have a method called stop propagation. You have to use that method. Stop propagation is an event method which will stop the propagation of child to parent. And you will see now, I click on nav bar is clicked. I click on search is clicked. After that, nothing. That means it will not simulate the parent. And that can be done by using stop propagation. Event propagation is very, very important, especially when you write events for child. Because in future you will do that. Suppose in future you design a table. In table, we will have some table events. Inside table, you will put some button, delete button, edit button. And when you click delete, edit buttons inside table, table events also fire up. We don't want them to happen. Then what we have to do? We need to stop the propagation. So why it is called bubbling? Bubbling is nothing but outer bubble and there is an inner bubble. You can't touch inner without touching outer. That means you are trying to touch inner, then outer also will execute. It knows. That is just bubbling concept. But actually, good name is what? Propagation. So, what is event propagation? This is important. It is a mechanism where the child events may simulate the parent element events. It It is a mechanism where the child events may simulate the parent element events. Not every event do that. Few events. Suppose you are using on, change and all, they will not simulate parent. Some events only simulate the parent element events. So you can prevent propagation by using the event method, stop propagation. By using the event method, stop propagation. Child event will have an event argument E dot stop propagation. So that is stop propagation, right? I will copy this example. Now, another important, we have how to stop default events. How to stop default events. This is another concept. How to stop default events. How to stop default events. This is another point. For example, we have a form. You know, you learned in HTML, form is a generic element. Generic element means by default it has event. Right? Suppose I am giving input type as text, name as uname, and we have a button and submit. Now, form have one event called on submit. That means form submit. It is an event. We are writing a script function as form submit. On form submit, we will put an alert saying that posted to API. Something we are showing a message. Generally, what is problem with this is, the problem is very simple actually. What happens? You enter the name and click on submit. It will do the work given by me. What work I given, it will do. After that, it will do some default work also. What is the default work of a form? It submits the data to server. If it is on GET request, it will submit as query string. If it is POST request, it will submit as form body. And we don't want this because I already showed what to do. It should do that and stop. It has any default action, it should not do the default actions. That means I don't want form to do its default work. Then what do? We pass event argument. We collect the event argument and we use e.prevent default. We have a prevent default method. What this prevent default method will do is, if that element is having any default action, it will not allow to do. So you entered something, submit, it will do your work. After that, it will stop. It will not do any default work. And usually forms have default actions. So they can submit in URL as query string on GET request. We don't want default actions. We want only the actions defined. This is very, very important, especially while working with forms. In future, everywhere you should use it because your major work will be dealing with forms, right? So, HTML generic elements have default actions. So the default events are triggered along with the custom events. You can stop default events by using event method. What is that event method? Prevent default. By using the event method prevent default. So prevent default. Right. So this is example. In that example you have all that. That's example for default events. Right. These are few points about events. Some more concepts are there about events that we will see in next session. Tomorrow we'll do. And tomorrow now we can use this knowledge in our React. We will see how React events work. What is difference? You will understand. Concepts are same in React also, but few changes. That's what we need to learn. That we'll see in next session, how to handle them. Okay, right.